Hi, Dave Folkers here. Today we're going to talk about power, Rx, number, prescription, script, vision, refractive error, sphere, cylinder, and axis. In other words, if you're wondering what is eye power and what does it mean, this episode is for you. Maybe your child is getting their first prescription and you're just trying to wrap your head around what is happening. Or you have a class of third graders who are excited to know about the eye and vision, but you really don't know how to approach teaching what eye power is. Or you just turned 40 and the eye doctor is adding more numbers to your eyeglass prescription. What in the world does that mean? Or you're a student just starting the curriculum in optometry school. Everything is new and the people instructing you have known this topic forever and hit the ground running. And you quickly feel a bit uncomfortable and lost. You need to start at the very basics and you're wondering how to think and eventually talk about the eye. For everyone wondering what eye power really is, I hope that the practicals of this video assist you to better visualize, understand, and feel more comfortable with the concept of eye power. So, what do all those terms in the introduction mean? Eye power. Is it an illness, a disease, a blindness condition, a disability, a harmful defect? Should I be worried? The answer to all those questions is no. I would simply say that those intro terms are numbers used to describe the shape of your eye's focusing system. Numbers and shapes aren't scary at all, so let's talk about how this works. Light goes into the eye, it hits the retina, and information is sent back to your brain to produce vision. When you're viewing something 20 foot away, about 6 meters or further, light goes into your eye and ends up coming together at one spot called a focal point if your eye is optically round. Or two spots called focal points with blur in between if your eye is not optically round. The measure of how far away that point or points is from the point where the light is collected in the back of your eye at the retina and sent to your brain is called refractive error, or again may be referred to as power, Rx, number, prescription, script, vision, sphere, cylinder, and axis. Now let's briefly talk about the eye parts that are key components in the vision that relate to eye power. The large layer in the back of the eye that collects the light is called the retina. Near the center of the retina is a smaller area called the macula. In the middle of the macula of your retina is an even smaller spot called the fovea. And the tiny area in the very center of the fovea is called the foveola. A way to look at it is with a car analogy. General Motors is a big company. It has a smaller division named Chevrolet. Within Chevrolet, there are several models of car, one being the Malibu. Within the Malibu line are several colors and trim packages. The retina is like a big company, and the fovea and its components are the very specific little cars within that company. Light that hits the macula and its finer parts is able to be finely focused. It allows for good acuity, and the information about that light is sent back to the brain for the final part of the vision process to be completed. If light falls short of the retina in front of it, between the front of the eye and the macula, we refer to this as myopia or nearsightedness. Myopic vision has a prescriptive number starting with a minus. An example of that would be -2. There are several reasons that the light falls short. It can be because the eye is longer than its focus, or the surfaces and the areas that bend the light in the front of the eye are too curved, too powerful, and they focus the light too quickly before it can reach the back of the eye, or a combination of the two. If light tries to focus too far behind the eye, in the back of it, we refer to this as hyperopia or farsightedness. Hyperopic vision has a prescriptive number starting with a plus. An example of that would be +2. There are several reasons that the light focuses too far back. It can be because the eye is shorter than its focus, or the surfaces and areas that bend the light in the front of the eye are not curved enough, are too weak, and do not focus the light quickly enough. Focusing behind the retina or in the back of the eye, or a combination of the two. Now, light can't focus behind the retina any more than a flashlight can shine through a brick wall. But if you continue the path of light to its focus virtually, you would see where behind the retina that focal point would be. If light focused in the eye falls exactly on the retina, not in front or behind, but smack dab on the macula, we refer to that as emmetropia. I shall call it ametropia, or perfect vision, or plano, or zero power. There is no refractive error. Ametropic vision has a prescriptive number starting neither with a minus or a plus. An example would be 0 diopter sphere or plano diopter sphere. We'll explain the DS or D unit of measure later. The reason that the light falls exactly on the retina is because the combination of the eye's length and its light-bending shape and power in an ametropic eye are perfectly matched to allow the focus to land on the retina. The purpose of the power in the eyeglasses and contact lenses is to correct your individual refractive error to better help you with your vision and tasks, and often involves helping focus far away just like an emetrope, correcting your refractive error. If your eye is optically round or spherical, your prescription will be comprised of only one number, corresponding to the placement of the one focal point. All the light ends up in one spot. It has equal curvatures. A baseball is spherically shaped. -3 is an example of a spherical prescription. If an eye is not optically round and has unequal curvatures, that eye is said to have astigmatism. An eye with astigmatism or ptericity has a prescription that will be comprised of 3 numbers, corresponding to where both focal points are located as well as their radial position in degrees in the eye. The light lands in 2 spots with blur in between. An American football has ptericity and is astigmatic. It has unequal curvatures. Its shape is not spherical or round. Astigmatism focus points can be broken into 3 categories. Myopic astigmatism, where both points are in front of the retina. Hyperopic astigmatism, where both points are virtually behind the retina. And mixed astigmatism, where one point is in front of the retina and the other virtually behind it. The retina is straddled. Let's look at an example of an astigmatic prescription. An example would be +1, -250 at axis 180. This is an astigmatic or toric prescription. It is composed of 3 numbers: sphere, cylinder, and axis. The unit of measurement for this sphere is in diopters as well as for the cylinder, and the axis is measured in degrees. Now let's talk about applying this power to our model to get a visual. +1 is the spherical power and represents one of the 2 focal points. -250 represents the additional power, in addition to the spherical, or cylinder at the other focal point. In this case, +1 minus 250 equals -150. The axis of 180 degrees describes the radial position where these powers are located. Optical crosses help us to visualize this. Now, putting it all together and taking a look at our example. I know this is a lot, but if you review a few times and maybe even make and work out your own examples, this will start to gel. Now, what are diopters? What's up with the DS or D we see in prescriptions? What does it mean? What should I understand? Diopters are a measure of focus by length. Let's use, for example, the power of -1. Where is my clearest focus with this power? The answer for that? At 1 meter. How in the world? Well, let's make some sense of this. The unit of measure for -1 is in diopters, which equals 1/f, where f is the focal point in meters. 1 divided by 1 equals 1. I know this sounds kind of mathy. Hey, take it easy. I'm always looking for mathy opportunities. But I think you'll find that it's easy to pick up. Rearranging the format of the same equation to focal length equals 1/diopters, you will practically find that this configuration is actually more common and useful in the classroom as well as the clinic because it helps us to practically visualize where focal points are located. This is specifically useful in the eye clinic to help doctors and patients work best together to decide what powers are best for the patient's near tasks and needs. Let's do a couple of quick myopic examples. Example 1. -5. -5 diopters. F equals 1 divided by 5 equals 0.2 meters. So a 5 diopter myope, the minus denotes the focal length falling in front of the retina, focuses at 20 centimeters. So a person with -5 power who is not wearing correction must view an object at the focal length of 20 centimeters. Any further will not be in focus. Example 2, -2. Minus 2 diopters, f equals 1 divided by 2 equals 0.5 meters. So a 2 diopter myope, again, the minus denotes the focal length falling in front of the retina, or the clear spot, focuses at 50 centimeters. Example number 3, minus 250. Minus 250 diopters, f equals 1 divided by 2.5 is 0.4 meters. So a 2.5 diopter myope has a focus at 40 centimeters. If a power is spherical and composed of only one number, one will often see ds, which means diopter spherical, where diopters are the measurement units and spherical letting us know that the single number is the complete prescription, and there will not be any cylindrical or axis power following in the prescription. Contact lens prescriptions or components of glasses prescriptions might be shown with a D, but the unit of power is not always shown in the RX, yet is always in diopters. Let's look at a sample glasses prescription including DS. In this example, the one eye will be diopter sphere and the other eye will be an astigmatic prescription. What do the lenses in the spectacle glass that correct these powers look like? Myopic lenses are thinnest in the centers and thickest at the edges. Are described as concave. These lenses make light diverge or focus at a further length, minifying images, making things look smaller when looking out of or into the lens. Hyperopic lenses are thickest in the centers and thinnest at the edges. They are described as convex. These lenses make light converge or focus at a closer length, magnifying images, making things look larger when looking out of or into the lens. Astigmatic lenses have variable thicknesses throughout the lens, but especially at the edges. When lenses are held at arm's length and rotated 360 degrees, the view will distort and wobble. How things look in those novelty circus mirrors. Now, the visual illustrations I included here are extreme examples, kind of silly, but they serve to get the idea across. Keep in mind, the experience for the person looking through their own personal prescription wearing the appropriately powered prescriptive lenses, things look wonderful. So what is life like for an uncorrected myope? In very general terms, unlike hyperopes who can decrease the distance between their focal points in the retina by concentrating and engaging their reading muscle system, myopes must wear correction for far viewing distances, past their dioptric focal points. Correction for a myope helps with classroom boards, driving, presentations, or viewing performances, all distance tasks. So what is life like for an uncorrected hyperope? In very general terms, unlike myopes who have the advantage of less strain for closer targets, hyperopes are always engaging their near or reading muscle system. Even when they see clearly when looking far away, hyperopes are often helped immensely by wearing correction for close viewing tasks. For them, avoiding strain is every bit as important as maintaining clear vision. Correction for a hyperope helps especially with books and hard copy, phones, tablets, laptops, and desktop computer viewing, all close tasks. So what is life like for an uncorrected astigmat? In very general terms, unlike myopes who can hold things closer if needed, or hyperopes who can engage their muscles to focus at times, those with anything more than very mild astigmatism really need help bending the light that goes into their eyes, using corrective lenses to put their multiple focuses together into one for clarity. Let's start wrapping things up. What else is essential to understand? I'm looking at the prescription my doctor gave me, and it looks like it has 2 sets and rows of numbers. What does that mean? Also, it says OD and OS. What is that? Perfect. Now that we've talked about power, let's talk about how powers are represented in a prescription and how we can understand it. Prescriptions tend to be universally written in a way that puts the right eye on the top, or first row, represented first, or on the left side of the page. It may seem backwards or counterintuitive, but it is represented from the point of view of the doctor looking directly at or face-to-face with the patient. The patient's right eye would be on the practitioner's left. Next to the prescription, you'll often see OD, meaning oculus dexter. And then for left eye's prescriptions, it will be on the bottom, underneath their second row, represented second or on the right. Next to the prescription, you'll often see OS, meaning oculus sinister. Sinister. I guess that would make the left the evil eye. Ha! Recently, I've begun to see R on the right and left for the left on prescriptions or on school screening forms. I don't have a problem with that. What is presbyopia? If you are over 40 years old and your prescription now has extra numbers, called an ad after the regular prescription you used to have, this will be covered in another episode, but the extra power or ad needed when your eye's near-focusing muscles mature and become less flexible, making it harder to see near things through your distance correction, will be added to the bottom of the multifocal lenses or bifocals or progressive edition lenses, or are partially blended into your single focus near prescription for close work. I've heard terms like 20/20 or 20/40. What does that mean? Is this important? That's an excellent question, and I discuss this with my patients often, but only briefly. The 20 system is excellent at describing the eye's ability, which is definable, but is very limited in value when it comes to describing the power in the eye or the cause of the vision limitations, because hundreds of factors can affect your 20 whatever vision score other than just your prescription. I don't care for it or use it other than referencing forms from the Department of Motor Vehicles or school screenings, or begrudgingly for the popular universal reference of perfect 20/20 vision, or in regard to the progression of known eye diseases. More topics to be covered in later episodes, only a brief mention here. Focusing closer with your eyes, accommodating that muscle system. Another, now what about plus and minus cylinder formats of prescriptions? Different format between optometry and ophthalmology measurement systems and prescriptions will make them look different on paper. Prism. This feature is added to prescriptions for some patients with binocular vision challenges. It helps to keep people seeing clear and single rather than double images. Most patients will not have prism in their prescription. Pupillary distance, or PD, refers to the distance in millimeters between the patient's eyes. It's included in a complete prescription and helps correctly position the lenses in the spectacle frames when manufacturing the patient's prescription lenses. It's simple but important. And I will be creating a whole power series so you can personally understand the pros and cons and nuances of your own personal eye power. Thank you for watching. Please join us again at the hueydoc channel, helping you understand your vision.